Hi, welcome to this lesson. So in this lesson, we are going to be looking at something called objects in JavaScript. Okay, so we're just going to look at the basics of this, okay, because it's a very vast topic and you need a separate course to teach all of the topics inside of this. So this is just a beginner's course. So because of that, I'm just going to teach you the basics of objects so you can understand what objects are and things like that, okay? So just that. Okay, so what are objects? You can, so with objects, you can model real world things and occurrences within your JavaScript code. Okay, imagine doing that. So this is more popularly known as object-oriented programming. Okay, so basically object-oriented programming is modeling real-world things and occurrences in your code, right? Okay, so that's how that works. So it's a very vast topic, as I already told you, and it's beyond the scope of this course. I'd like to teach you some basics though, so let's look at that. Okay, so how would you model your real-world objects in your code? Okay, so as you know, every real-world object, it has two things, okay? It has properties and it does certain things, right? Okay, so those things, and also for every it has attributes, which is the properties, and for every attribute there is a name of the attribute and then what the attribute is. For example, it's a name, and name can be Susan like that, and then there's hair color like this, and then hair color can be blonde. For the properties of every real world person or real world object, there is a property name and then the actual value of the property. Okay, that's how it works with your objects, right? So that's how it's here as well. So in your JavaScript, that's how it is as well. So let's say we create an object called a person. So we create an object called a person, and that person object can have multiple properties like name, age, height, hair color, etc. And these properties can keep going on without any end at all. Also, there can be more than one person. There could be person one like this, and then there could be person two, but that person two also has a name, age, height, hair color, etc. like that. So that's what your real world is. Okay, so let me explain that by writing it down. Okay, for example, let's say there's person one, and they have a name Susan like this. Okay, and then they have an age 35, and then they have a height of 160 centimeters, and then they have a hair color which is blonde like this. And then let's say there's another person 2, who has a name Gary, okay, age 40, okay, and then a height of 180 centimeters and hair color of blonde like this. Okay, so as you can see here, they have the same properties. Because every human being has these properties, but the values are different for each person. Okay, but in some cases it can remain the same. For example, they both can have blonde hair color, they both can have the same eye color, they both can have just blue eyes. That could be the case. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so they have their own unique properties. They have similar values for properties and things like that. So it's descriptive of a real world scenario, right? So this is how the real world is. So this is how objects are written as well. Okay, in fact, you can actually, for the person two, you can actually add more things as well. Okay, you can add gender just for this person, and you can say male. Okay, so you can add more properties for a second person, have lesser properties for the first person, so all of those things. So descriptive of the real world. Okay, so this illustrates what objects are and how their properties and values are derived. But how can we write this in JavaScript? So how do you do that? So the syntax is actually very simple. As usual, okay, let me just comment all of this out. If you need it, you can just copy it all down, okay? So the syntax is very simple. So as usual, you just need to declare a variable, okay? So first of all, you have to declare a variable. And as you know, variables usually only hold one values, except in case of arrays where it can hold more than one value. But with your objects, you can make variables hold multiple properties and values for those properties, like that. Okay, so let me show you how that happens. So I create a variable called person1. Okay, so in order to create your objects, you have to put them inside of your flower brackets like this. Remember how arrays were put inside your square brackets? Your objects are put inside your flower brackets like this. And inside of this, just like you did with your uh, example, you just have to give the property name first. Okay, these are case sensitive, so n is not the same as n, so remember that. So you can give the property name, and then you can give Susan like this. But if you do it like that, is it going to work? No, you have to make it a string because it's still a value, right? So it has to be a string. And then you can give age like this and 40, and then you can give height and then make it 180. So the space, it's not compulsory, so you can either give the space or not give the space. Okay, that's up to you. Okay, height is not 180, height is 160 for Susan, right? And then you can make hair color as blonde like this. Okay, and then you can go on and create person 2. Similarly, you can open the flower brackets and create a name, Gary, okay, within your Gary like this, and then you can give age 40 like this, height as 180 like this, hair as blonde like this. Okay, you can do it like that. Okay, so as you can see here, you declare the variable first and the variable gets converted into an object. See, this variable gets converted into an object based on what you've assigned to it. And in this case, just as soon as you opened up your flower brackets and you started with your properties, your browser knew that you're creating an object. Okay, so this property value pair. So these pairs are called property value pairs. All right. So always the property is written first and there is a colon after that, and then the value of that particular property is written. Okay. So just like in the case of your CSS style sheets, remember that's how you do it with JavaScript as well. So it's a property value pair. So now how do we access these values? Okay. How do we do that? Well, there are multiple ways to do that. So the first of all, how you can do it is you can just give the object name. Okay, and then you can give a dot, a period like this, and then you can give the property name, and the value of that particular property can be accessed like that. Let's try it. Let's do a console.log, and let's say I want to access the height of person 1. So all I can do is I can say person 1 like this, and then a period, and then I'd have to say height like this. And if I look at that, person 1 dot height like this. If I look at that, sorry about that, I have to encase all of these things within my codes. Okay, so if I look at the output, see, I'm getting 160. So that's one way of accessing it. There's also another way where you can give the object name, and inside of your square brackets within your quotes, it can be either double quotes or single quotes, within your quotes you have to give your property name like this. So that's another way of doing it. So let me see how that works. So person 1 of, I can say height like this. Refresh. Yep. If I look for something else in here, age maybe. Yep, that works as well. So that's how you access your properties, value of your properties within your JavaScript like this. So that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.